And we're live now, so let's start. Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is the second meeting of the Poznan Salesforce Marketer Group this year, one that I've been really looking forward to, as today we will have a chance to take a look at a very exciting and innovative solution, the so-called Postman Journey Builder activity, which allows users to call any external application or service on the fly directly from a journey. I really hope that this session will not only be informative for all of you, but it will also become an inspiration for all Salesforce Marketing Cloud developers out there to extend and build amazing applications for use with Marketing Cloud. My name is Zuzana. I work as a Salesforce Marketing Cloud architect at Deloitte Digital. I am also a Salesforce MVP and the leader of the Poznan Salesforce Marketer Group. Our guests today are Justin and Edwin. They are the authors of the Postman API activity, and they will walk us through the solution that they have built for Marketing Cloud. Before we jump into the presentation, I wanted to offer you all a chance to win a Salesforce certification voucher. We have multiple vouchers to give away today, and all you need to do is follow this link and sign up using the form. I will also post this link for you in the chat. There will be a lottery at the end, so make sure to stay until the end of the event to find out if you are one of the lucky winners. A little bit of housekeeping. This session will be recorded and the recording will be posted to the events page on the Trailblazer Community Group's website. At the end of the session, there will be a chance to ask Justin and Edwin questions about their solution. So please post your questions in the chat. You can do it throughout the whole call or ask them directly later on during the Q&A. Last but not least, remember to sign up for the upcoming meetings organized by the Poznan Salesforce Marketer Group in the coming months. In May, we are planning a session about the SSJS library for Marketing Cloud. And in June, there will be a chance to see a demo of Activation Studio and Direct Messenger for Marketing Cloud. So now, without further ado, off to you, Justin and Edwin.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Pleasure to be here. First of all, thanks for organizing this event. It means a lot to us as well. And thanks for the great introduction. Let me see if I can start sharing my screen. Can you see my PowerPoint screen or is it on my desktop?
We can see the PowerPoint.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thanks everybody for participating in this presentation slash demo session. We've built this activity. We've named it SFMC Postman. It's a custom activity for Marketing Cloud. Officially, Edwin and I have a business. It's called Digital Wave Labs. We also do consultancy for Marketing Cloud projects. And we also help companies maximize the possibilities in Journey Builder. So we'll get a short introduction about ourselves soon, but let's first start, okay, what made us create this activity? And while we were exploring Marketing Cloud, we often had the feeling, oh, there are so many limitations in terms of what we can do. Like, I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that, or I want to run AMP script outside of an email, or I want to grab some data, or I want to fetch some internal API, or I want to do something. And this was not possible. And Edwin, actually, I started working with him like a couple of years ago. And he was like, yeah, I developed this for a customer. And we were like, okay, can you show it to me? And immediately I was sold about the solution, right? So I told them like, hey, we have to market this solution. So that's also why we launched this September 2021. And we haven't looked back since. Like, we've had very fun and productive conversations with companies that utilize this tool. And yeah, we're just here to share it. We want you guys to use it. We want you guys to get the maximum value out of Journey Builder. So yeah, we want you to succeed. And that's what this presentation is about. So in the end, if you have any questions, write them down, we'll get to them, and we'll see how we can help you leverage this tool. All right, so in a nutshell, our application fits in Journey Builder, and it can call any kind of REST endpoint that's possible. So from the activity, it goes to our API request handler. There, the magic happens, and then it passes the information back to Journey Builder. And then from Journey Builder, you can actually move forward with this data. So who are we? My name is Justin. I currently am employed by LeasePlan Digital. I orchestrate Marketing Cloud for 32 countries. I do a lot of architecting, utilizing like how can I connect to different systems to do whatever we have to do. Before I started working at LeasePlan, I worked at a software company. So like, I'm a geek at heart. I used to like building computers and websites and stuff. So this is not far from from the tree, basically. And Edwin, yeah, he can introduce himself as well.
Hi guys, yes, I'm Edwin. So I was involved with Justin in developing this activity. I come also from like a very development background, web development, anything geeky. I loved it, and I'm still a developer by heart. I'm in Marketing Cloud at the moment and trying to make the most out of it. And yeah, we're brilliant idiots.
Love that name. All right, so we're going over our features. Like, this is some of the features that we've built so far. We're a very customer-oriented company, so if you have feedback or you think something is missing, just shout out. Like, we're very flexible and we're very keen to develop like new features. Right, so basically, when you go into your journey, this is the interface. It's literally how you would see it in Postman as well. So you have your URL bar, what type of request you want to do, what are your headers, what are your bodies, etc. The type of requests, yeah, they're literally all you can do, like get, post, put, delete, patch. Like, any type of request is possible. You have access to all Journey Builder variables. So if you have previous activities, you have access to all that information and 3 additional variables that are hidden, basically. You're also able to create response variables. So let's say you want to use some of the values that you get back from your response. You can configure them in any way you want to access them and to use them in decision splits or in other API activities or whatsoever. A small note here, the variables that you get back are not directly accessible in an email. So if you want to do this, then you have to store them first in a data extension or in a data lake before you're able to access those. Next to that, we've also built in the functionality to use Lambda functions. So let's say you receive a nested object, then with a Lambda function you can create, or you can access like nested JSON and pick a particular value that you're looking for. And of course, we try to build like a really friendly user interface to make this application as easy to use as possible. So like I said, you can set your headers. This is basically what it looks like. In the demo, Edwin will also go through this more extensively, but I just wanted to show it in the presentation so that you know what to expect. And also the response variables. Like I mentioned, you have access to all kinds of journey data. You can literally click on a journey data attribute and it will copy it to your clipboard. And you can literally use it in building your REST JSON. You can also easily filter by searching for attributes. Next to that, we also offer environment variables. So basically on our website, you can actually create multiple environments. So if you want to use this tool for multiple clients, you can actually do this. Or maybe you just want to separate some kind of standard data. You can create environments for anything. There's no limitations. Yeah, and then from the journey, you can basically access these variables. So if you use a lot of standard variables, it's very easy to use. One thing to note, environment data is tied to your personal account, right? So it's not shared across the entire account. So keep that in mind. So if you create a variable, it's only accessible for you and not for your coworkers. Next to that, we also offer the ability to create, store, and load templates. So if you've created like a template that you want to use more frequently, you can give it a name, you can save it, and then once you're in a new journey, you can literally click on the template and all the variables that are attached to it are loaded into the activity. Here, I want to note that templates are shared through the account. So if you create one, they are accessible for your coworkers. This allows for like a rapid prototyping, so you can share and basically do the heavy lifting, and your coworkers benefit from this. Something that's coming soon from our side is also that we want to add the basic REST API templates for Marketing Cloud, so like an auth or kick off a new journey, etc. So that's something that we are working on. All right, so we do have some additional features that are outside of the custom activity. So why just stop at Journey Builder, right? So we do keep track of the journey usage because we are a SaaS platform, so we do a billing based on how much you use. But we also offer like, okay, what's the status of your journey, right? So let's say you have a journey that's not frequently used, then we will give it a degraded warning so that you know like, hey, this activity is not running very frequently. So this gives you an indication of how well your journeys are basically performing. You're able to filter on journey name or on the ID of the journey. It gives you some insight about usage. Next to that, what we also offer is journey logs. And I want to be very clear. We don't want to store your data. We are based in Europe, so we have to comply with the GDPR. But we do notice that when you're trying to create a journey or you want to debug it, it's very handy to know, okay, well, what is the behavior of the activity? Am I getting the right responses back? You know, to minimize the debugging, we allow for debugging in the journey. So we have an option in the interface that allows you to switch between production mode and debug mode. When the debug mode is on, we log the entire API request. So from URL to headers to request body to the response to the error. And we allow you to access this from our website, where you can filter on subscriber key, date range, and on errors. Of course, to mention, we do store metadata. So if you are in production mode, we do store the request. So let's say we do store the journey name, we do store the MID, but we do not store the URL, the headers, or the body. But since we do keep track of, okay, what's your usage, we store this, but it's also limited, right? So I think the time to live for any log record is 30 days. So I just wanted to put that out there so that we don't have any confusion about what do we store and how do we store it. All right, let's go over some use cases. Soon we will also go through the demo, but first I want to just let you know what we use it for and basically what you can expect. So a simple example is sometimes you wish to inject someone from one journey into another, right? So in such examples, we can do a basic auth request and then kick off the entry event. And you can build your REST API the same way as you do with any journey activity trigger. So basically you can utilize all the data in the journey. So you can actually see here that on the first name, email address, and last name, we use the specific data from the journey attributes. So you can literally incorporate those in your body or in your REST interface, and Marketing Cloud will automatically assign the variables to these to this JSON and execute. Another function that we frequently use, at least this is one of my favorite ones, is to run SSJS or AMP script inside of a journey. So basically what you can do with our REST activity is you can actually invoke a code resource from Cloud Pages to execute SSJS or AMP script and give a JSON response in return. And then you can pretty much do whatever you want. So examples for this is triggered send outside of the journey to a different email address, for example, adjust Salesforce record with the connector, or pre-post render data from your journey data extension that needs to be used in the journey, or use a system REST SOAP API to alert on journey errors. So there's a lot of things you can actually do within Marketing Cloud itself. Yeah, next we have third-party push notifications. This is also something that we frequently see. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the push notifications from Marketing Cloud, but they are not the most robust. So we've had a lot of questions from prospects and customers like, okay, can we also utilize third-party applications? And yes, for sure, we definitely can. Soon in the demo, Edwin will also show how we do push notifications from the journey builder via Firebase. But basically, you can plug it into whatever third-party provider you want, right? So you can even use Twilio or whatever it is that you want to connect with. You can even connect to Slack if you build your own Slack app. All right, so another one that we often see is querying internal systems, right? So sometimes not all systems are connected via Marketing Cloud with the connector, but you want to grab data from an internal system anyway. So if you set up your internal API in such a way that Marketing Cloud can fetch this with the credentials or however you want to set this up, you can also do it via proxy by using a Marketing Cloud code resource if you don't want to expose any additional information. And then you can utilize this data in your decision splits, for example. So I've given a sample of, okay, we fetch some data from the internal system, and based on this internal system, we want to do different things, right? So maybe create a case or create an opportunity or create a task. Like be creative, pretty much can do whatever you want. All right, so this is also the point where I would like to hand over the screen to Edwin, and he will run you through a demo.
Thanks, Justin. All right, so let me see if I can share my screen. There we go. Let me know if you can see my screen, Justin.
We can see it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So once you've installed the activity, which I'll go through in a moment, you'll see our Postman activity will land in your Journey Builder canvas over here. All right, so to install the activity, well, first of all, I mean, that's what you guys will need. We do have some instructions on our website as well, and a whole YouTube video on how to install the activity. In short, you'll need to go into setup, and you'll need to go into install packages. And then over here, you can call your install package whatever you'd like. And then you'll need to go to add components, and you'll need to add a Journey Builder activity component, which would then give you this pop-up over here. So you can call your activity whatever you want to call it. Whatever you call it here is what it will actually display for you on Journey Builder. The category is, I've set it to messages, but whatever you set it to, it would appear under that specific category on Journey Builder. And then what is very important is the endpoint URL. This is where we are hosting our activity on. So you'll need to add the endpoint URL to have exactly this. And once you register on our website, which we will drop the link for, we will probably also email it out. Once you register, all this information and this config is on our website to use as well. Okay, so I've installed the activity, and I want to demo just 3 small use cases. What I've got here, as Justin explained, we can fetch information from Salesforce via Cloud Page. So my activity is going to call a Cloud Page that will retrieve a single Salesforce object, contact, and return first name for me. My second activity is going to send out a push notification, but the push notification is going to use the first name at the first attribute returned. We'll have the decision split whether the push notification was successfully sent or not, because perhaps it wasn't, and we want to send out an email or send them a different way. And then if the push notification was sent successfully, I've just got a simple get weather API that I'm calling to get the current weather in the city. And I think I've hard-coded it to also saying that everyone's in Poland. Okay, so first of all, let me just show you from Postman. So anyone that's familiar with Postman, our activity will be super simple to use. This is Postman and the kind of the layout. And if we go into our activity, you'll see a very similar layout. We try to make it as user-friendly as possible. And a lot of people already know this kind of layout, so we stuck to it. So the first time, if you open the activity, it will ask you to log in. But because I'm already logged in, it just opens activity for me immediately. Seeing that you would register, you'd probably also be logged in. All right, so my very first request calls a cloud page, which I'll show you in a moment. And just to give you some description of what this cloud page actually returns, it simply just returns a JSON string for me of first name and subscriber key. And the way that it does that is by me actually having a GET request to a cloud page where I'm passing through in the URL a parameter and a dynamic value in here. But wait, I think I'm going a little bit ahead of myself. Let me just quickly go over the entire activity. Justin has done it, so I'll go through it a bit faster, seeing that you probably already know. On the left here, we've got our method types. So we've got all the different these are the different method types for REST APIs that we currently support. We've got the headers. So if you want to add authorization or content type as headers, you can do that, or keys, whatever you'd like to do. You can add them. You can just click new row for it. You can have a JSON body in here. We also support different data types, such as form URL coded and form data. And we've got the response variables. So what the response variables, these are the values we want to capture from the API and possibly use it in our journey further on. Or if we don't have to capture variables, we don't have to actually specify them. Because this journey is returning first name, I am naming my attribute first name. So it would actually be able to map and say, retrieve the first name from you from the JSON object. And then on the right here, we've got journey data attributes, and you can actually search by journey data attributes over here. So I can go on subscriber key, and it will give me the subscriber key over there to use. And what's nice is I can simply click on it, and it would copy it to my clipboard, where I can then paste it into my URL to use it as a dynamic value. On the right here, we've got environment variables. As Justin explained, this is variables that only apply to yourself. So this is kind of like constant variables that you set on the SFMC Postman website. And I've created a demo one where I've got my client ID and my client secret if I ever need to do a REST, a SFMC REST auth call. So if I click on this, it will copy to my clipboard and I can paste this to use it as I'd like. At the top right here, we've got debug. So I've got debug mode enabled. That means that we actually are storing your information, and it's very useful while you are building a journey, because then you can see what the data looks like as it flows through the activity. And if any errors occur, are we passing the correct value in the correct formats? As a developer, it's really useful. And if you don't mind activating the journey and keeping it like this in production, you can leave this on. We will store it with obviously with some data retention on it, according to our policy. However, if you do swap it to production, we won't be storing any information. At the top right here, we also provide you, based on our billing model, how many credits you've got available for using the activity. If you do click on it, it will take you through to our SFMC Postman website, where I will go through in a second, a bit later. All right, so I've configured this call to call my cloud page, and all that my cloud page physically, all that it does is from the URL, it grabs the subscriber key and it assigns it to the variable. It retrieves the contact object, the first name field, where the ID is equal to the value that the journey is passing through dynamically with what I've set there as my journey data attribute to be passed through to the cloud page. And over here, I just return the JSON string. So this can be all done in various ways. We can use JSON data instead of passing it through at the top. We can send through JSON data and pick that out. I just thought this for them, and this is very simple to look at and to use. And that's all it is to configure this. And this will retrieve the first name from Salesforce data. So this is live data. It's not worrying about the synchronization objects or any of that. You can also call the Salesforce API directly, the REST API, to retrieve it, but there are complications such as the Salesforce REST API limits. All right, so that's my first activity. I fetched the first name. The second activity will actually send out a push notification. So here I've got it set up in Postman. So if I trigger this, we will immediately see my push notification appearing at the top with this information. So anyone that's familiar with Firebase push notifications, this kind of REST setup would be very similar, familiar, where you've got your authorization key. And I can copy this activity as I've set it up in Postman exactly over to Journey Builder over here, where I've got my base URL and I've got my body. But here you see something interesting, is we actually see a dynamic value in the title, because the first activity is returning James as first name. And from my journey data attributes, I can simply click on the dynamic first name value, and I can paste it into my string over here. So when this push notification is sent out, it will say James order updated. I've got this journey set up as a data extension, as an entry source, and the data extension currently has the FCN key, which is kind of like your mobile number for push notifications on the Firebase side, that it knows how to identify the application on the device to send the push notification to. And this is also a dynamic value based on the contact FCN key. What we've also done is we've added 3 additional journey attributes here for you. It's the definition instance ID, which is kind of like the unique ID of a contact within a journey. If that wanted to be logged in, you can find out the exact instance that they were inside a journey. We've also got get date, which is like a constant date value. I'm getting a bit of some background sound.
Yes, apologies, Rajesh. Rajesh, I think you're unmuted. Let me. Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and then we've got the get contact key, which is the contact key that enters the journey. If the contact key was to be different than the subscriber key, this can be used. All right, at the bottom here, we've got 2 tick boxes. Once these go green, we know we are capturing the MID and the journey ID for analytics purposes. This doesn't affect your activity at all, for in case this is being blocked and this can't be fetched for analytics purposes. And yeah, that's all that there is to it. I've set my content type, the application JSON as my header and my authorization. I've set here with my key. And I can also save this as a template if I wanted to save my Firebase push notification as a template for the next person to use Journey Builder. They can simply click on the template and the entire activity will pre-populate with what I have created as a template. And you can make templates completely dynamic from authorization to what's needed. Yeah, and it's to save a new template, you simply can give it a name, you can click save, or you can click on a template and load it in. And that's all it is to it. What I want to capture from the push notification result is the success attribute and perhaps a multicast attribute if I want to store this within a marketing cloud for reporting purposes. So the success, obviously, if it's 1, it means that it succeeded. So you have to name it exactly the same as what your response is. So success, made it a number, which is the data type. The multicast of set to text, even though this is a number field, it doesn't matter. It will just convert it to text for me. And that's it. So something awesome now is that with this custom activity, the attributes that we've set is that we can use those attributes in Journey Builder and decision splits. Wherever you want to use it, you can use it. So if we go into Journey Data, you will see there's additional 2 that appear under Journey Data. It's our custom activities. It's the get Salesforce first name. So if I click on that, I've actually got access to my first name variable that we retrieved from Salesforce. Or if we want to retrieve whatever data we want to retrieve from Salesforce, we can have access to it real time in our journey. There's also 3 additional attributes that we append to all this custom activity request, which is the Postman error, Postman request, Postman response. So what this allows you to do is, if you want to look if there was an error with your API, or if your response contained a certain value or request, then you can use this as well. Or if you just wanted to save it in Marketing Cloud for reporting purposes, you've got that. So what we can see is we've got the send push one, my custom that I created, and we've got the success attribute here. So I can say if my success is equal to 1, that means that the push notification was actually sent. And we'll take the top path. And then I'm going to go into the 3rd activity, because with this activity, we've got a nested JSON string. and we want to retrieve a value out of further down in the nodes in the JSON payload string, and for that I actually use a Lambda expression to accomplish it. All right, so this is my weather API that I call, where I've got Warsaw hard-coded as a city. You can obviously make this dynamic based off your journey data for the city, what the person lives in. You can retrieve the weather information. I've got an API key in here. So if I run this activity, what we see here is we can see the weather information, and the value that I want to retrieve is clear. Now this becomes a bit more complex, because within my response variables, I can't specify main, because main isn't one of my parent attributes. It's actually nested within one of my parent attributes as a child. But this is also an array, so it makes it a little bit more complex as well. And for that reason, we actually need to use a Lambda expression to retrieve this exact value of main. And the way we do that is within our response variables, if I hover over code optional, this is where we add our Lambda expression, it'll actually give us a description of parent attribute dot return the child attribute, the value that we want to return, and which child attribute value we want to return. So we want to return main, which is part of weather. So it'll be weather dot main, where ID equals 800. Just make sure, yes, that is our latest. So we've got weather dot main, and we add our Lambda expression in here where ID is equal to 800. And this will retrieve this exact clear value for me from the expression. And because we are using a Lambda expression, we don't have to call our attribute value the exact name as what it is within the JSON string payload. So I can call it whatever. I can call it last weather. And that's how you would use a Lambda expression within our tool. Right. So, and then what I can do is I can do a decision split based off the weather, whether it's clear. Let's just make sure, yes, it is clear. So that's all good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to activate this journey. Let me just clear my log, because I'm expecting a push notification to actually come through. And as we know, Marketing Cloud can normally take quite some time to actually activate and push through data. So I've got one record in my data extension as entry source. Let's have a look. And because this is REST APIs and it's really instant, doesn't have to go through any filters or Marketing Cloud things, it actually does run quite quickly. It runs faster than I've already received the push notification. That means my contact's already entered. Marketing Cloud isn't even showing me that it's entered the journey yet, but it has, and I've received the push notification. And you should be able to see the name James in front there that it's retrieved as well. The dynamic value. Sorry, I think my camera is a bit off. But anyway, you guys get the idea. All right, so let's go and have a quick look at the SFMC Postman website. Now my journey is running and the statistics are just updating. When you land on the dashboard, you can have a quick high-level overview of all the journeys running. You can see the usages and the health of it. I can go to view all to view all of them running. The usage is the amount of contacts that's passed through my activity or my journey. The activities within the journey. So this is the journey name, and then within it, so if I go into it, it will show all the activities that's run in it, and we log in the contact IDs. So here under the 27th, we can see our 3 activities that we've set up that's run through. When these brackets are showing green, that means that we are logging the data. That means that your activity is currently in debug mode, and you can click on it and it'll show all the information. When it's red, it means that you've got production set and not logging any information. We don't have any information to show you. So if you click on the activity, you'll see we can view the debug logs for the request that the custom activity sent, the response, or if any errors occur. I can also click on these squirrely brackets, and it'll show me the entire custom activity config that we've basically sent to the REST config. We can see log data is obviously set to true, and we can see all the fields and everything, and we can see our URL that we called and all the values that was passed through that URL. And here we've got the one for the push notification. We've also got the response. This is the exact response as you would have seen it in Postman as well. for the push notification. And these are obviously the fields that it's retrieved. So it's nice to see what your activity, what your REST API actually returns. So you can use these fields in your response variables or Lambda expressions to make it a bit easier. When it's red, we're obviously not recording any information, so you won't be able to see anything if you click on it. Absolutely nothing happens. It's not clickable because there's absolutely nothing there. All right, I think that just to mention that this is still in beta mode, so we are adding additional features on here. It comes to you being able to filter. There's obviously going to be a lot of requests on here. We are fixing a couple of small bugs that we still have. So this does still say beta, but hopefully one of these days this will be out of beta and we'll have some awesome statistics on here as well. Great. So let me just quickly show you guys how this journey ran. So here you can see we got the first name, send the push notification. The push notification was successful, so it was at status of 1. We got the weather. We had a weather split to see if it was clear, and then we exited. And we can also push them into a different journey here if it was bad weather to notify them if there's a storm coming or any of that. Great, that concludes the demo from my side. I hope you guys found it useful. Over to you, Justin.
Yes, thanks, Edwin. Awesome demo, as usual.
Thanks.
All right, so obligatory for myself to put this in. I'm sorry, but I do want to discuss pricing because on our website we only show like our basic subscription and our top up, but we do offer custom pricing. Like if you have more than 1 million calls you're going to do per month, reach out to us. Like we're very flexible in terms of what the pricing needs to be. Some terms and conditions will apply, but it's definitely possible. All right, next, the Q&A session. So yeah, bring on all the questions and let's see how far we can get.
Yes, so we do have quite a few questions in the chat. Maybe let's go through them one by one. So the first question is by Blair. Blair, do you want to read your question out loud?
Sure, that's fine. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. By the way, this is really an awesome product. Really impressed, by the way, with your work. Really great job. I work at Salesforce, by the way, just so you know. I work in Marketing Cloud Journey Builder. Yeah, this is, I've already told my, I've told my colleagues about this too as well. So, yeah, I'm curious. I work in the financial services area. They're very sensitive sometimes as to where this is. And I imagine, obviously, you're running your back end of the cloud. What options, I guess, and you've mentioned Europe that you're in as well. What sort of options are available for hosting the back end of your work, region-wise and also cloud-wise, AWS, Azure, and so on?
Yeah, so currently we're hosting everything in Europe because it's easier to comply in Europe and then comply for the rest of the world. I know that there are some deviations. However, I think it's also possible for us to spawn the process anywhere. What would happen in a theoretical situation, not saying that we're going to build it right away, but I understand where you're coming from, is that we can build a custom activity that ensures that the service that is being used, so our REST relay, that it can be hosted specifically for you in a specific region. So that's theoretically possible. Currently, we host from Dublin. It makes it easier for most of our clients to, like, you know, GDPR-wise and legislation-wise. Does it answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, and Blair, we can definitely discuss it a bit more, what you think can work for your clients.
Yeah. And to
mention, no, that'd be great. Thank you.
To mention as well, so the REST relay is actually being hosted on Azure. And I think like our website and the activity itself, so are 3 different solutions. So they are standalone from each other, whereas the REST relay really does the hard work, and whereas the website and the activity are just shells to configure and to keep track of data and payments, basically.
Great, thank you, Justin.
Okay, great. So the next question is from Samuel. Samuel, are you able to ask the question yourself?
Yes, I was curious to see if you guys are saving the information that you are bringing from other systems before using it into the journey. But during the presentation, I was able to see that it's dynamically assigned, so you are not saving it in a data extension, for example.
Yes and no, right? So in the journey, the data is dynamic. However, like we shown in the AMP script activity, basically, you can actually store that data in the data extension as well. So if you want to use that data in an email, you would have to follow this procedure anyway. But for any of the other activities where you can configure it, you can actually use it dynamically in the journey.
Excellent, thank you.
Great. The next question is from Alex. It's a question about the environment variables. Alex, are you with us?
Yes. Yeah, I missed a bit on the environment variables when you were setting them up, so I just wanted to verify if that was set up.
As part of my demo, I actually did not show that. I did not showcase that. However, if you're on the website, I'm not sure which screen you guys can see at the moment. Can you see the website?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
So under that, you would go over to environments. Here you can create a new environment. You can click on if it was a client or business unit, and you can set all your keys over here for your environment. And these are only for yourself and are not shared amongst others. These kinds of variables. Hope that answers your question.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah. The next question from Sebastian about contact data. Sebastian, are you here? If not, then maybe I'll read the question because we also received similar questions in the LinkedIn Live. The question is about using contact data inside of the activity.
Yes, so I can answer that one as well. Yes, you can use contact data. So that would just be your normal standard procedure of having contact dot, if it was person dot first name or whatever you'd want to use. You can use it exactly like that. Unfortunately, we don't have a drag and drop functionality of that. That's something we can actually add a bit later. The only issue with this contact, there can be a lot of contact data. So it's not as simple as journey data where we can just have a list of it all for you. So easiest would probably be to just copy the string into your payload.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I do also have a few questions from the LinkedIn Live. So the first question is, how do you handle OAuth flows that have limited token lifetime, like cases where an access token needs to be requested and refreshed on a schedule?
So you would obviously need to just think about how long the person would be inside the journey. If your token lasts 30 minutes and you know that your token you have a day's wait period, you will just need to do another authentication step to retrieve it. And if you just want to be safe, you can retrieve an auth token every single time before you actually need to use a token.
Yeah, so to add to this, like if you can see it here, it might be a little bit tiny, but what we do is we just do a new auth request before executing the payload. So I can imagine that if you have rate limiting implemented, then another solution would be to have an automation running in the background somewhere, or a process that stores this value periodically for the lifetime of the token, and then just fetch the token with the API, so that you're not getting in trouble with rate limiting, but you do store the auth token somewhere in Marketing Cloud for the time being. And then you can use that variable that from the response in the post or get or whatever request you want to make. Does that answer the question for this particular scenario?
Yes, I hope it does. It was a question from the LinkedIn Live, so we won't hear back, but I hope it does. Now there's two more questions. The Journey Builder activity execute save endpoints are hosted in a separate server. Does the in-out arguments contain any of the PII data?
This is a question for Edwin. So we don't store. So yeah. So this is a really technical question, I think.
We're not really hitting the any save endpoints or publish endpoints at all. We're doing any validation on the activity currently, and we're not saving any of the PI endpoints.
Yeah. So you have to realize that the configurator uses the data that we receive from the journey builder side, right? But we don't store any of this information on our end. So you just configure it. As soon as the editor is closed, like it doesn't exist for us anymore, right? So there is nothing that we store from that side.
It doesn't really use the standard custom REST call that you would have under normal custom activity circumstances. That's why we don't actually use any of those published methods or save methods or instruction, which it actually does the calls. That's why we've got a REST relay service that handles it in our way, just because of all the limitations from Marketing Cloud.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And there's one more question in the chat from Jay about the subscription. So Jay, if you are here with us, maybe you can ask the question yourself.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Cheers, guys. Great demo, awesome products. So yeah, my question is, in terms of the subscription, if I were to be a contractor, for example, build a load of journeys for multiple clients, and then one day I wouldn't, but if I did cancel my subscription, how would that impact my previous clients' journeys and setups?
Yeah, so if your subscription expires, then the REST relay will stop functioning because we do have a check that checks, okay, do you have a subscription or do you have any credits? If that's not the case, then we throw back an error into the journey. What I would suggest, if you have multiple clients, you can create multiple accounts for them on the website itself so that they have their own account and they can have their own invoicing done via us. I'm looking into having like this structure where an agency can provide for multiple clients, but that's a complicated matter in terms of, okay, how are we going to handle the technical side from the REST relay. Does it answer your question a little bit? I know it's probably not the answer you want to hear, but.
Sure, yeah, it does. I think it sounds like a work in progress. So yeah, keep my eyes peeled. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more. Sorry, Edwin, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention quickly on that we can always step in to help migrate them onto their own package.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, perfect. And one more question from Alex about the subscription. Alex?
Yeah, just on that, is the subscription then also limited to one business unit in Marketing Cloud, or can one subscription handle many?
So once you log in, it uses your credentials to contact like our service to check who you are. So you can actually use one account for multiple business units. That's totally fine, right? So we're in the process to also add some validation to limit the MIDs basically, because we're sending the MID data with to validate some data where we can, or where you as an admin are able to cap the REST calls basically, so that you don't have overlap. But that's future state. Currently, if you're within one org and you want to use it in multiple business units, you definitely can. That's not a problem.
Nice. Thanks.
Yes, so I think we're through with the questions. There are also some additional questions about the recording. So yes, the recording will be shared on the Trailblazer Community Group's website, probably tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And now, unless there are any other questions, I would like to thank Justin and Edwin for the call and for the demo. It's truly amazing what you have built, and I really wish you all the best, and it's a really amazing solution. So thank you for joining us today. And now one last thing, the lottery winners. So let me quickly share my screen. I have randomly picked a few names. So here are the winners of today's lottery. I will contact you directly after the call today, and I will give you all the details of your Salesforce certification vouchers. So congratulations to the winners, and thanks to everyone for joining today's call and being on the meeting with us.
Yeah, and just a closing note from my side, guys, if you're interested in getting to know more about how we do things or how we can help you succeed, literally send us a message at info@sfmcpostman.com or visit the website and fill out the contact form there. We're very eager to get your feedback as well to make the product better and also to help you just get it started.
Yeah. So thank you and have a great afternoon.